first of all, I would like to say I travel here from Singapore, so this is my first time presenting to an Indian crowd. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm excited to be here. And so thank you for the opportunity. So we start off by talking about Concur overview. I understand not everyone knows who Concur is. Hopefully you do by the end of the presentation. We'll talk about our value pillars, which is basically our consultative approach to selling Concur, and we don't try to position technology to solve problems in itself. Talk about the value that our customers realize, and then we move into talking about sustainable business travel, which kind of ties into the panel that you saw and how small steps can help you achieve your journey in terms of sustainability and how data can guide you in terms of where are you going from a sustainability perspective. Then I'll share some key takeaways. Unfortunately, we're missing a little blurb there, which is the way forward, which is about the evolution of product. And Srivatsan will cover that section of it, and I'll hand it over to him accordingly. So for those who don't know Concur, we are the platform that created this byline that we write expense reports. We have expense reports that write itself, and so that the user doesn't necessarily have to write those expense reports. We have 52,000 customers globally, which is by far unparalleled, and we have 700 partners, and these partners don't just help us implement the solution. They are travel partners, which you saw Thomas Cook, and we have people who innovate around our platform, so about 250 partners as well. And from a country coverage perspective, we have 150 countries. Market share, the next player in the market is less than 10%. And a lot of people have this misconception that Concur is an enterprise solution. Yes, it is, but 30% of our customers are small to medium business customers. And we always take a mobile-first approach to how we do things in Concur, and so you can see that reflected in the high rating that we have. And when you compare ratings between different companies, look at the number of respondents, right? For Concur, we have 13,000 people who have given us this, that have allowed us to achieve this rating. The next nearest competitor is probably at most 1,000. And when we talk about how much spend do we process on a yearly basis, right, last 4 quarters, it's 480 billion. This is over expense, invoice, travel, and we have 80 million users of the platform at any point of time. So what are leaders thinking about, right? I think let's start off by acknowledging the uncertainty that we see. While things may be a little bit better in India from an economic standpoint and a growth standpoint, there's still a lot of uncertainty that we see globally, right? And so if you're running a multinational organization that covers many jurisdictions, you're probably thinking about, how do I stay agile? How do I stay resilient? How do I scale my business efficiently? And that will lead you to think about, how do I find the right technology partner to improve, right? Because all of us are thinking, how do we do more with less? How do we grow our business sustainability while not increasing our finance or other functions involved, or salespeople, for example? So the next thing we all struggle with is data, right? So if you're not using a platform, you have disjointed process, you probably don't have visibility. And Ashwini talked about that earlier, where he's not, if you need to understand what's happening in your business, you have to call someone has put together something in a spreadsheet or PowerPoint. Wouldn't it be beneficial for you just to self-service and see those reports automatically in the system, and you have visibility over your employee discretionary spend? Moving on. So we have different personas here. We obviously have the CHRO, the CIO, and the CFO. And so I want to talk about the different aspects that are important to each. Obviously, as a CHRO, you care about employee well-being, right? Because if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers, and that will have bottom line results. And of course, attrition costs money, right? But let's move beyond just employee experience. Let's talk about well-being, right? I think people are talking about mental health. From a travel perspective, you think about traveler safety, traveler well-being. And then from a CIO perspective, how do I get connected real-time data that business users can self-service and make decisions, whether that's the CEO or the CFO, and not just that, let's go beyond, right? How are we managing that data and providing the right privacy for the people whose data is in the system? How do we manage security of that system so that that data is secure? And then obviously we reach the finance professional. So obviously, when people think about finance people, they always think about controls and compliance, right? And it may seem simple, but really compliance, there could be two approaches. You can take a risk-based approach, or you can take a trust-based approach. And so whichever choice you make, when you have a properly run compliance program, that's how you can drive cost optimization. I won't say cost savings because that's very linear. Cost optimization means you can save and reduce wastage and potentially allocate it where it's needed in the business. So this slide is very busy. Essentially, it's the request to reimbursement process, which is pre-trip authorization, booking my trip, going on that trip, and then trying to file my expenses after, and then accounting team processing that expense report. I'm getting paid, and that's going into the enterprise resource planning solution, right? So you can see a lot of red exclamation marks. Those are the challenges that my users face or my finance teams face in terms of as they go through this process, and that's the friction that they experience. So in Concur, we take a consultative, and this is a real life process of a customer in the professional services industry, and this is how we approach our discussion with you. We take a consultative approach across the 4 pillars. So for example, like I said, you start with controls and compliance. How can we ensure that people are complying to the travel policy, that they're traveling based on their entitlement? And it's not a linear conversation. It's a conversation is what's the approach that you want to take, or what is the approach that your peers take? And that's the experience that we bring as the market leader. And if you see the different presenters today, you can see that we've been in this industry for a long time, and we have that experience to have that conversation. When it comes to spend management, are we spending according to budget? Have we spent more than our budget? How are we handling auditing or processing of those expense reports? When it comes to employee experience, what are the frictions that the employee, are we simplifying that so that they can book travel more easily? Or are we making it more complicated by having a lot of audit flags and multi-level approval? Is all of that really needed? And sometimes people have approvals in the front end and the back end. So in some companies, I understand that's a requirement. Maybe it's regulatory. But for some companies, you may not have those challenges. So maybe it's time to rethink that process. I won't talk so much about expense and optimization because we're talking about sustainability, and that sits in that pillar, and I will talk about it more later. So the better way is Concur. We have 4 main products. I won't want to bore you with the details of each, but it's called Request, Expense, Invoice, I lost my train. Request, Expense, Invoice, and Travel. Sorry, my bad. Thank you. And that helps you with managing all your employee discretionary spend. So you can see on the left-hand side of your side, all the different types of transactions that Concur can help manage, and that allows you to control what's happening in every source, every category, and give you a unified view of spend. And we talked about the value pillars 4, but there's a little point there around customer journey. So we've been in the cloud business for 25 years, which is probably longer than most, and we're one of the first few cloud companies, or if some people say, the first cloud company. And so we partner with our customers, we try to help them through the process, and make sure that there is benefit that you see from our solution as it comes from an adoption standpoint. On top of that, we apply artificial intelligence and machine learning in several processes in terms of like when you capture your expense, when we take a look at auditing, we can automate that process and highlight risky transactions so that you don't have to audit everything. You can focus yourself on the risky transactions and decide what kind of coverage am I going to be on. And I think Ashwini talked about predictive analytics, which is what we're going to in the future, and Srivatsan will talk about that. And lastly, it's security and privacy by design. I mean, we have government accounts globally that use Concur, and so they trust us with their data, trust us to manage and secure their data. So let's look at customer value realization. Obviously, I've said a lot of good things about the benefits Concur can bring, but let's put it into perspective. And these are from IDC, they're not from myself. So the average customer that they surveyed, I think they saved 700K or 600 plus K USD, and they were able to drive compliance. So 32% of employees were more compliant to travel and expense policies, and 65% were more compliant from an expense report submission process. And it took less time to process invoice, it took less time to process an expense. We were paying vendors on time, so you can also get early discount benefits, and potentially you improve the relationship that you have with your vendors. Efficiency varies from 36 to 45% depending on whether you're processing invoice or expense, and the payback was 5.3 months. So usually Concur is implemented in 3 months on average, and so depending on the complexity, you get expectation of your payback is in a short period of time. So let's talk about sustainability. I think let's acknowledge, that it's a complex topic, right? First of all. Then secondly, I would say, climate change, I hope everyone here agrees it's real, and that we need to take some sort of action now. What that action is, I think it's more complex of a conversation, and it's not, again, a linear or straightforward conversation. So at Concur, obviously, we are a travel and expense solution, and so our focus is how can we deliver sustainable business travel. So it starts with educating people and changing the mindset, right? Equipping the travelers with knowledge as they're doing their booking. Are you booking the most efficient flight? If you're booking business, do you understand the emissions of booking business for a short-haul flight? And seeing your impact, we will show you some dashboards and reporting in a while that tells you, okay, certain trip segments have higher emissions, right? Why do we need to be traveling so much on those trip segments? Do we have a project there, or are we doing some big project there? Or is it something that we need to review? And in certain regions, like the Thomas Cook gentleman mentioned, there are other options like train. Have we explored those options? Are we taking those options? So there are a lot of things to think about. And the last one is really about, you can't control what you can't measure. So if you're not using a system that tells you today what your emission is, it may not be the perfect calculation because calculations vary by country, because different countries use different emission factors. They have different sustainability reporting requirements, but at a baseline, you should at least know today I use X amount based on these parameters, and tomorrow I'm trying to use less of this, and I'm working towards my target of 2030 or 2050 to achieve net zero, or just reduction, right? Do more with less. I mean, we believe that you will still need to travel. Human-to-human interaction is important, and it's not going to go away. So how do you manage that? How do you manage the intensity of your travel? And how do you get the most ROI? And ROI is not just, from a cost perspective, but it's an investment, right? So a lot of people think there's nothing we can do today. The reality is totally different. So in Concur platform, I was talking about the process. We have different ways that we can influence behavior throughout that process, where from plan, shop, book, expense, analyze. So let's just focus on a few areas. So for shop, for example, you can sort the filter by sustainability. You can give people the choice of picking hybrid cars. You can give them the option of train in countries where train is supported, so they can make the decision to take the train versus fly. We have e-receipts with hotels so that you can itemize the receipts automatically, and when you leave the hotel, you don't have to ask for a printout. We have TripIt that also tells you, traveler safety type requirements, and we have partners that, enrich our solution in terms of providing traveler well-being through international SOS and reporting as well. So here are some native dashboards that we have. Here you can see what your current emissions are as an organization. You can see the trend that you're moving here on the left, whether it's in a downward trend or an upward trend. Where are those coming from? Is it coming from rail, mileage, flights? This is a breakdown in terms of like cabin class by flights and train. So you can see what is the impact of the different classes of travel and the different modes of travel. And then lastly, we have, like I talked about, traveler segments, travelers, and air routes with rail alternatives. So you have opportunity to work with specific travelers to say, hey, you know, your emissions are high, how can we adjust it? And you can also have a look and think about it from a traveler well-being perspective, right? Should we be traveling so much? And like I said, you know, choosing different routes and choosing the rail alternative. So the key takeaways really is it's important to manage your employee discretionary funds so that we can ensure that your cash flow and cash position is optimized. You have real-time spend visibility, and you can drive compliance across it. Technology is an enabler and democratizes the situation for small and large companies, and sustainability matters. It matters not only to your employees, but all the stakeholders, and it's important to take action now. And it's not just about environment, like we tend to focus on environment here, but there's a social aspect to it from a traveler well-being and safety, and a governance aspect to it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Srivatsan, who is the VP of Product Engineering, Spend Management, and SAP Labs India as well.
Thank
Sri,
you.
over to you.
Good. So team, now we understood the value part. I just wanted to give you a quick brief or a sneak peek into what is happening behind the product and engineering side from Concur. Of course, this is just a quick brief. I'll be around if you want to get some more details. First part is Concur turns 30 years from a product perspective this year. It's not a new kid on the block. Backed by SAP's pedigree support, you're getting a product which we invest in, continuously invest in. That's the first part. And if you look at our journey, I just really quickly want to give you a quick view. We started off getting it into automating the expensing part 30 years ago. That's what was our major focus when we started off. Then we started moving to say that, yes, automating is good. Can we also ensure that we give you the right controls, the way how you would want to do it with controls on your hands based on your auditing capability, rules, and other things. Then we started looking at it a bigger ecosystem, right? So it's not just about expensing. Can we ensure when you take a Uber ride, your Uber receipts automatically come in? When you do a credit card transaction, right? Can your transaction automatically flow in? And when it flows in, can it also reconcile? Right? It's not just about a card transaction coming in, right? You also want to ensure that this spend matches about against your receipt that's available, and seamlessly you have the ability to mix and match or expense it the right way against your financial control objects, be it your WBS element, profit center, cost center, and so on. And finally, we are in this journey of ensuring that your system works for you and you don't work for the system. That's your intelligent automation part. And I truly believe in that. Right? Your system, what you use, should be minimalistically interactable with you. It should give you the right information at the right point for you to make a decision so that you can work on your business. You don't need to work on the system, spending time in filing reports or correcting what the system does. And that's where we are in that intelligent automation phase. Right? AI and ML has to be infused. That's what we believe in. We do not believe in that. That's a differentiator alone. But that's something that will enable you to make things better, and that's the journey that we are in the last stage. Yeah? And this is what you get from SAP Concur in all the products that we invest in. Good. How do we do that? Primarily, we do have a framework of how do we do from a product engineering perspective. The first part is to enable you to have the right spend done properly. That's your spend enablement part, your pre-spend part. Let me give you a quick example or a use case. Right? Before even you do spend, can I tell you what could be the average threshold of such a spend in that spend category? That's enabling you to ensure that you're able to get a view, even before you make a spend, that you are booking the right thing, be it a hotel, right? You go for a hotel in this class, in this city, and for these dates. Can I tell you that the average rates of these in this city is X or Y? You already get a view into what you can do for your employees. So we do enable you to spend in the right way, and also give you guardrails to say that as an organization, we would also try to bring in audit rules to ensure that you are within the compliance zone. The next part is also to ensure that as an organization, do I have a view of how my employees are spending in a purposeful way? And that's your guidance and oversight. It's not control alone, it's also guidance and oversight. And finally, when the settlement comes in, we want to ensure that that settlement happens automatically, right? You don't need to file a great report. I mean, you will be able to see all these demos with our product engineering folks behind to show you what exactly and how exactly it happens. And mind you, all these are direct demos and are not real salesy pitches as well, right? You see it directly in the system. Good. Investments. What are the investments we are doing? How are we going to invest in from ourselves from the product engineering perspective, right? We're going to invest in 3 major areas. One, we love and we like the way how we need to invest in employee experience. We want to ensure that it's a mobile-first experience. Of course, the ratings, iOS ratings and the Google Play Store ratings of our apps speak for themselves. That's the best part, but can we do better, right? I mean, can we bring consumer-grade experience to the employees? And that's what we are ruthlessly working on, and we would love to do that. User experience is a big, big thing, and we learn from you. To be very honest, we are more than happy to get your feedback. And if you're not liking it, just be open about it and say that we don't like something. If you like something, just go ahead and let us know that, yeah, we are behind you in that. We love your feedback, and we do a lot of workshops and a lot of whiteboarding exercises with our customers to ensure that are we doing the right things for our customers. We love doing that, and we would want to continue doing that as well. And we look up to you to learn from you what we could do. Of course, we also want to ensure that it's a touchless experience. What I mean by touchless experience, if a receipt comes in, can the OCR capability, the AIML capabilities automatically recognize the fields over there and directly pull it into the system, right? That's a touchless experience. Employees should not spend the time in mapping what receipt fields are to what the system fields are, right? That's a touchless experience. And of course, with AI and ML, we always know that we need to retrain the model and other things. In fact, we have gone one level higher than that. We love to retrain the model not as an offline system, but online. What do I mean by that is, assuming that you have an invoice coming in or a receipt coming in, you have a new field that gets added in that receipt. It could be your vendor code, or it could be a new way of how you categorize your expensing within your system. Obviously, with the first time when the receipt comes in, your system will not be able to recognize that. Now, as a power user, on the fly, you will be able to map it, recognize it. You can annotate a PDF file, annotate and say that this field corresponds to a custom category that you have defined. Now, once you do that, on the fly, the next time the receipt comes in, it automatically detects that. This is regenerative learning, reinforcement learning of machine learning on the fly at runtime. Gone are the days where you take the model out, we go into a test data model, retrain the model, and then we deploy it. Gone are the days. It's all about power in your hands, how you want the model to work, and how do you want to define the way how it needs to be recognized. And that's exactly what I call as on-the-fly regenerative models. Compliance. Of course, sustainability is not something that we would love to have as a sticker, but embedded into our core fabric of how we work, right? That's the way how we would want to give people choice of how do you do, and that's something that we will continue investing in. And of course, regulatory compliance is something that we would love to do and we would want to do and we have to do, being part of SAP as a larger ecosystem. When you buy from SAP, we want to ensure that you have peace of mind to say that we are regulatory compliant in the countries that we operate. That's a commitment and a promise that we look up to. Integration. This is an area that we will continue to invest in with more public APIs. I know that we are investing more here, and we will continue to invest more in these public APIs. And ERP systems, better integration into SAP ERP as well, be it S/4HANA Cloud, be it S/4HANA Private Cloud, or even Business by Design, and of course into other ERP systems via data dumps and other things. Card feeds, we also want to see how can we integrate better with our vendor systems of cards, not restricted to particular types. In fact, we do have a new innovation payment management space, the virtual card space. We are also looking at innovation of where invoices can be paid directly using virtual cards. You just create one card and you start creating multiple spin-off cards out of it so that the vendors can be paid via virtual cards, right? So that's a big thing that we do, and it already got launched in April 2023, yeah? And these are the spaces where we will continue to invest in from an integration perspective. And of course, supportability is a big, big thing that I want to call out here, right? It's not just about giving you a product and saying that if you have a problem, raise a support ticket. We want to ensure that when users have a problem, they can discover for themselves where the problem lies and what the problem is, right? And supportability for us is a big, big thing. And with large LLM model-based capabilities that's coming in, I'm sure you would have heard about GPT models. We are investing in GPT models to figure out how can supportability be something which can be more a self-service capability, right? And that's the innovation that we are going towards, to say that end users need not worry about what the product is, or if they have a problem, they can figure out for themselves where the problem lies and how are the ways they can solve it, or how others have solved it. And that information is provided to you in your fingertips. Yeah, that's in a quick nutshell what the product is investing in, and we will continue to invest in, and this is a 2-year model. And of course, we would love to hear from you, and if there are capabilities that you would want to look at, happy to look at it as well. Specifically for 2023, looking at it more from a 1-year perspective, yes, we do have focused markets, and India is a market, big market for Concur, Invoice, and Expense. We would love to ensure that we get your feedback in and get your ways of how do we do that. SMB market, I'm sure Mark also called it out. Even though SAP is an enterprise company, you see majority, 1/3 of our revenue is from the SMB market, and this is a market that we would love to grow, and we would also a market love to continue to invest in, right? I mean, it's not just about growing, continue to investing and also be hearing from you. How do you see your business growing, and how can we help you to make things better? And travel is an evolution that's going on, and we will continue to invest in that platform of evolution. Sustainability is going to be the core fabric on which this is going to be built, and that's our promise to you from the product engineering perspective. Yep. So with that, I just want to quickly wrap up what I just told. One, you want to ensure that yes, product engineering is big time focused on all Concur products. We invest hugely in it, and we continue to invest in it. It's a 30-year product. It's a product which is there for cloud-born product. So it's not a product that came from the on-prem to the cloud world. So it is cloud ready with cloud capabilities built in, and we will continue to invest in with you, and we want to grow with you together. Yeah, good. Apart from that, I will also we do have a separate roadmap, detailed roadmap session for multiple products. I would encourage you and motivate you to say that if you have something, please do feel free to drop into the roadmap session to get more details. And of course, please reach out to our product engineering folks behind the scenes in the demo pod space if you have a specific question, or you want to look at the system, or even feel the system or interact with the system. How about not seeing it in the video, right? How about playing around with the system? More than happy to enable you guys in that space, yeah? Thank you.